inside of each of these compartmentalized compartments seem to fit.
Waiting on word from city or state officials to see what's going on, what they can tell us.
All right, so when I say nutrition and dietary guidelines, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, I think we can approach nutrition for the viewers here in terms of preparedness and survival in a couple of different ways. We can talk about pre-event nutrition, and then what you should be doing and eating if something happens. You know, so
what do we need to be doing now? Before an event happens, what do we need to be doing?
Okay, so let's start with this. There's a lot of different diets out there, and let me start off with something first of all. And I have a doctorate in exercise science, but there are a lot of people. I'm not a nutritionist, nor am I a dietitian. Those are both registered things in Kentucky. So what you need to do before you go on any sort of diet, especially some kind of fad diet or something with a name, or following nutritional advice that's radically different than what you're doing, is go to the doctor, because some of the things that people recommend may be dangerous for you if you have certain health conditions. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, good point. Very good point.
We'll dispense nutritional advice. Every personal trainer is going to give you their view on things. So, but in general, the main thing that if we're looking at just staying healthy, one of my favorite, and I don't consider necessarily a fad diet because it's just a way of eating. The paleo diet, which has a name, supposedly it's the way our ancestors ate. You know, it's Stone Age. You know, we ate this, and our body hasn't evolved to the new. You know, and that sounds good, and it may be true. I don't know. Okay, I'm not an anthropologist, but the fact is, the things that it recommends, it's got a great story.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to think I'm a spear chucking, you know, barbarian and all this stuff.
Rawr, caveman,
yeah, caveman,
baby.
Battle axe swinging. But the thing is, I don't know if that's true or not. Now, what it recommends is for you to eat lean meats, vegetables, fruits, nuts, seeds, and limit your intake of carbohydrates and starches. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't see any problems with that. The average American eats way too many processed foods, processed carbohydrates. So if you do that, you know, if you want to, I've heard shop the perimeter of the grocery store, you know, they'll sit on a shelf for 20 years, then it's probably not the thing you should be eating. Now, that's going to change when we talk about you know, post-event. But right now, when food is plentiful, we don't need to overeat it. Okay, the first thing that you need to do is to figure out how many calories you need. Okay.
How do we do that? How do we know how many calories we should be taking in?
There are a couple of different equations. A Google search for Harris-Benedict or Mifflin or Owen equations. There are websites that will calculate that for you based on your height, your sex, your age, that sort of thing.
What about the apps? MyFitnessPal, does that do that too?
MyFitnessPal does. It has its own calculator, and I can't remember offhand which equation it uses, but most of them will yield more or less the same results. You know, for all practical purposes. So you need to figure out how many calories if you're at the weight that you want to maintain, then just try to get some sense of how many calories that is. If you're at a weight that, let's say you're sedentary and you're overweight or you're obese, obviously if you eat what you want when you want, then you're going to be overweight or obese because that's what you're doing now. So you're going to have to make a change. So you need to figure out how many calories, and then by plugging in these calories in the phone or writing it in a log book and counting them, you can get some sense of about how much you should be eating. You're going to realize that all this stuff that you were eating before has a lot of calories in it. And typically, the things that have all those calories don't have many nutrients in terms of vitamins and minerals.
So you mentioned earlier when we were talking on some other subjects that nutrient-dense foods is the way to go.
Yeah, nutrient-dense.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, the amount of nutritional value in terms of vitamins and minerals per unit calorie. So if something has 100 calories and it's got 25% of your daily requirement of vitamin C, that's a pretty nutrient-dense food. Okay, so what we want to try to do is to focus on these foods that are nutrient-dense, that keep us within our calorie intake, and things that we like. I mean, there's a lot of foods to choose from, and you can cook healthy. You want to try to avoid this processed foods, average American diet, as much as possible.
What do you say to that guy or gal that's got to have their frozen yogurt or their Big Mac or whatever it is that they've got to have?
Just eat it. I mean, there's nothing to say. Your body, one meal is not going to make or break your diet. You can't get lean with one meal, and you can't get fat with one meal. I mean, so it's the trend over time. So the 80-20 rule is a friend of mine's kind of fond of using that, and I kind of picked up on that. 80-20 rule, basically, if you eat, I'd say clean or within your diet 80% of the time, then 20% of the time you can cheat and you'll still make progress, or you'll still maintain progress.
Excellent. So what about caloric intake versus carbohydrate and proteins? How does that all play out?
Well, once we've kind of figured out the quality, or not quality, but we can break our diet down into quality and quantity. Quantity is how much food we're eating, how many calories are we getting, okay? The biggest thing, when all these diets were compared in a meta-analysis, the only thing that actually mattered for weight loss was how many calories you took in, okay?
And that was it.
That was
Just
it.
focus on the
high
calories.
Fat, low fat, high protein, regular protein, low protein, whatever, calories. So now,
and it doesn't matter where you're getting those calories as long as they're
for weight loss.
Yeah.
You know, for health, we want to get those calories from good places. You know, I mean, you know, I don't want to have an exclusive diet of gummy bears, for instance.
Yeah.
You know, I could still lose weight on that, but I would have some health issues.
That goes back to that nutrient-dense food. A gummy bear is not full of good stuff.
You better be taking some multivitamins if you're on that diet.
Yeah. Good gravy. That would suck.
Yeah, you never want to see a gummy bear again.
Oh my God. Sorry, I got a sidetrack.
No,
there.
that's okay.
Yeah.
As far as, you know, macronutrients, if you look after we get the quality of the quantity of our diet nailed in, as about how much we should eat, then we look at what are we eating. Should be mostly lean meats and vegetables, moderate amounts of starch. Okay, I mean, for the paleo side of it, and that's going to be really all we need to do to stay mostly healthy. There's all these different recommendations. Again, you want to make sure that your physician, like a high protein diet's not good for people with kidney disease. So make sure that you don't have kidney disease before you go on some sort of paleo diet. Don't just listen to somebody, some random guru.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is, we can live without carbohydrates, like without taking in carbohydrates. Our body will make carbohydrates out of proteins, okay? So the only nutrient that's really, that we have to take in, or the only nutrients are fats and carbohydrates, or fats and proteins, I'm sorry. Carbohydrates, you know, if we want to perform as an athlete or get some exercise or whatever, it's a good idea. You're going to suffer if you don't have carbohydrates. Mm-hmm. But your brain operates on carbohydrates, and your body's going to make enough to keep it active. So you're going to make carbohydrates out of proteins, amino acids.
So a post-event situation, it would appear that carbohydrates are going to be the hardest to get material. So we just need to be focusing our attention on, and I say that from my perspective, we're going to be able to get some animals from trapping and whatever, even if it's, you know, somebody's Fido. We're going to be able to find some meat and fats from the dog, if you will, from a post-event. But carbohydrates, if that's all we're eating, we're going to be real calorie deficient, am I right?
Yeah, I mean, and you can live, I mean, you're going to survive for a while without eating anything. I mean, your body's got some stored, we talked about that with regard to body composition a little bit. Yeah,
that brings up, sorry to get you detracted again, but a lot of these preppers out there are fat, they're overweight, similar to me, I'm several pounds overweight. But a lot of these people instead of trying to improve upon that, they're going, oh, I need this to live off of. Is that valid? Not?
Again,
I mean, what's the thought there?
If you're a little bit overweight, it's not going to have any major health effects for you. Okay, there's a curve, there's a point at which you start to, if you're a little chubby, okay, it's not going to have any negative health effects for you, and you're going to have some storage. You don't have to be bodybuilder lean to be ready. That's aesthetics. Once you get down into seeing your abs and stuff like that, that's all aesthetics. You know, as far as, you know, having extra body fat, there's a certain point, okay, at which you become obese or overweight to the point where it's going to harm your health. Now, the thing that's typical about people is that they just have a poor lifestyle in general. So the thing that speaks to when they're that big, or, you know, if they're obese, is that they don't work out and they eat poor. They make poor food choices. So they just have a poor lifestyle. So you know, the basic thing is it's not really that hard. I mean, there's a lot of research. There's a lot of, it is a science. Okay, but as far as the average person, keep your calories within the range that you need to either maintain, or if you want to drop weight, focus on nutrient-dense foods. If your preference is for a little more carbohydrate, then eat a little more carbohydrate. You know, things like you know, fats and proteins will tend to fill you up quicker. There's a term called satiety, and then we essentially are satisfied. So our body, we get that response when we eat fats and proteins, as opposed, so you just don't want that 13th or 14th chicken breast, you know, you just don't want it. You're just done with it. Your brain just shut, I'm okay, I'm done.
But you don't do that with, go ahead.
Yeah, but you know, you're gonna eat out of the box of Fruit Loops until cows come. You're just, where's my next box? You know, it's not going to hit you that you've eaten that many calories. So it's easier to overeat.
Okay, cool. Well, I think that's going to cover everything. And again, Brian has been gracious enough to follow along with where we put this up in the blog and the video and answer questions as they come along. I'm also going to have contact information for his martial arts academy here in Frankfort, Kentucky. Brian and I, we've done a lot of things together. He's come to Nature Reliance School classes. I've trained with him. He's come to our facility in Winchester and trained us, and we really appreciate it, and really appreciate the fact that he's offering his expert advice on this topic. So check in with Brian wherever and whenever you can, training some jiu-jitsu with him and whatever he might be teaching. I highly recommend his school, and we really appreciate it, brother.
Thank you.
Very much. So check out the links below, and that way you know how to get in contact with Brian. Come on, join in. Let's learn together.